Good afternoon and welcome to the latest in our series of live career webinars brought to you by the HOP platform. So HOP stands for the Hertfordshire Opportunities Portal, and it is a website that we hope every young person and school in Hertfordshire becomes aware of, because it is a one-stop shop for finding out about a variety of different career opportunities that exist for you within the county. So if you're not using it already, please do have a look at it. We can see our website details there. You can see our social media channels as well. We've even got a TikTok account now, whatever that is. The purpose of this webinar is to give you far more detailed information about a particular career and a particular role that you have already shown an interest in finding out a little bit more about. So today, we're going to be focusing on careers within cybersecurity. So over the next hour or so, we're going to discuss what cybersecurity means. Our excellent panelists who have joined us here today will tell you a little bit about what they do at the moment and their background in this industry. We'll talk about some of the skills and qualities that you need, might be able to help you choose which subjects you might want to do at the next stages, whether you need to go to university or whether you don't. Spoiler alert, you don't need to go to university, but one of our panelists in particular will tell you about the courses that are available at University of Hertfordshire. We'll think about what's enjoyable about the job and perhaps what's slightly more challenging or what perhaps people don't realise about the role. So just a bit of housekeeping. We can't see or hear any of you on the call today, but hopefully you will be able to see and hear us perfectly fine. You do have an opportunity to interact with us though, so this is a really good opportunity for you to ask any questions of our panelists as we go through. So hopefully we'll cover a lot of the things that you've already asked in the registration, but anything that isn't clear, perhaps you've got a really technical question, perhaps you want a bit of guidance, or you just want us just to clarify something we've said, you can do that. So the way that you do that is on your dashboard, there is a questions tab. If you open that out, that opens out a text box. In the text box, you type the question in, it's only visible to me, and then I can direct it to either of our panelists and they can answer it for you. So this is a really good opportunity for you to do that. I would also say that this webinar is being recorded. So whilst I'm really impressed that you've come home from school, you've logged into this webinar, you're focused on this more than Ghana against Portugal that's taking place at the moment. That's how I can prove that I'm doing this live at the moment. But maximise this opportunity by asking the question. If you can't stay through to the end of it, or if you watch it and you know you've got a friend who would really enjoy watching this as well, it will be available on our YouTube channel from tomorrow morning. So do spread the word, do share the fact that this webinar is on. So what I'm going to do first of all is ask both of our panelists to introduce themselves to you, tell you a little bit about what they do now and a little bit about their background, and that will set the context for the things that we're going to discuss over the next hour or so. So first of all, good afternoon, Steph.
Hello.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and who you work for.
Yes, so I'm Steph Phillips. I'm one of the regional cyber choices coordinators. So as you can see on the screen, I work for the Eastern Region Special Operations Unit, or in simple terms, I basically work for regional policing for the Eastern Region. So I cover the 7 forces that are shown there. So Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire, Hertfordshire, Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex and Kent. And then I coordinate force officers in each of those force areas who deliver the cyber choices messaging, and I work directly with national crime agencies. So if you think of policing as local force, so your local force being Hertfordshire, you then have regional policing, which is where I sit, which covers multiple force areas, and then you have the national teams at the National Crime Agency, which is like the UK's version of FBI, to put it simply. So that's what I do, and within cyber choices, I work with young people, generally young people who are on the cusp of committing cyber-dependent crime, like illegal hacking, and I help them understand what's legal, what's not, what they can, can't do. But my favourite part, which is the reason I'm here today, is working with those young people to understand the opportunities and resources that are out there to help them harness their skills positively and get an amazing career related to cyber. So yeah, so that's who I am, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Deepti.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Deepti Ratnaikar. I am here working at University of Hertfordshire. I am generally a senior lecturer in cybersecurity and networks. My specialization of my PhD is cybersecurity. if I talk about what I do here is I'm also the program leader of the online master's program, where we have students from all over the world learning online, e-learning. And then also I am part of the Cybersecurity Center, where we do a lot of research and engage with the industry and organization like the police and other defense sectors. Also, I served in the BCS, British Computer Society. I'm in the Information Security Specialist Group. I'm one of the committee members. So we provide some advice for policy development. And also I support the Computer Society here as a coordinator. So basically we schedule a lot of events, conferences, learning things. And I am also the cyber security columnist for IT Now Security Magazine, IT Now BCS magazine. So I write topics on high interest every quarterly. And a little bit of my background, I worked in the industry about 7 years. When I finished my school and then did my degree, and after my first degree, I went and joined a defense military organization, and I worked there for about 12 years. When I retired there, I was heading the network there. So, and then I moved to London and did my PhD, and I thought I'll take up a career in academia to do research and teach and share my knowledge with youngsters like you. That's about me.
Sure, thank you. So look, we're very grateful for you joining us today, and I know that we'll talk about your own particular roles that you've done. I think particularly within government and national government and military level, but also really keen for you to share with us later in the webinar about the courses that are available at university and why they might be beneficial for the students and young people to consider. So Steph, let me ask you a very broad question. What do we mean by cybersecurity?
Well, cybersecurity is a massive concept. The easiest way of explaining it is it's protecting your personal information, and every sector, every person should be thinking about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is everyone's business, everyone's problem, really. I spoke to a lot of businesses where everyone from sort of admin, everyone from accounting, all the way to the technical side, all the way to IT. They all say, IT can deal with that, but actually it is everyone's issue. Like, we don't want people to be clicking on links and putting their personal information or the company's personal information at risk. So yeah, cybersecurity is one of those so many different roles and so many different things within it, but it all boils down to protecting our personal information, both our personal information, but also company and organisations' personal information as well.
Sure. So, in fact, I was talking to Deepti about this morning. That I'm sure everyone on this call has probably had an experience where the phone has gone at home and someone tells you that they're ringing on behalf of an internet provider, that they know that there's been a problem with your internet, and can you give them a password so they can go and fix it for you? So, this is something that affects both individuals and companies, right?
No, yeah, massively. So a lot of my colleagues deal with fraud reports daily. The amount they get is quite frightening nationally, but also locally within Hertfordshire. And yeah, things like that. So the Microsoft scams, the phone calls, and unfortunately, if you fall for one, then they just keep phoning because they put you on what they call a suckers list. The more you fall for it, the more you kind of think you're entertaining them. Actually, you're staying on for longer, and you're going to be on that list for even longer. So yeah, unfortunately there's so much out there, but that's why we need those that have the skills, they have the interest to protect us from those people, both within policing, but also the industry itself, and kind of try and raise that awareness for people so they don't become a victim. You know, the whole point in my role and my colleagues' role in Cyber Protect is to stamp out cybercrime. If I stop the young people from committing it when they first get started, and then my colleagues stop cybercrime by hopefully stopping victims from becoming victims, then if we start working together, which we do very well, then actually our jobs hopefully won't be a thing in years to come, because cybercrime won't be happening. You know, unfortunately, it's not that simple, but yeah, it's a big problem, and that's why we need the skills to form part of the solution.
Sure. Dipti, you provided us with a fantastic graphic which should be up on everyone's screen now, which is the range of different roles within cybersecurity. Now I'm going to leave the screen up for a while. Obviously, don't talk about every one of them individually, but I think that really this is just proving the point how many different individual roles there are. But talk to us about some of perhaps the main ones, or the ones that people may have heard of.
Yeah, I will go through kind of the security, different lines of security. For example, you can see here one area of, we are looking at the intelligence. Okay, the security, one side, if you broadly divide, one is defensive security and offensive security. So you are trying to protect yourself, putting up firewalls and all kind of security things. And the other one is offensive security, where you're working as ethical hacker and you're testing your systems. So that's the two areas. I think the newer generation more they like the offensive security side. They like to pen test, they like to hack, they like to try to experience it. Because I remember, I think Gareth, I spoke about this in 2017 when cybercrime unit was trying to create this prevent solution. We did a piloting course. So basically, your officers interviewed our students. So they said it's not. We were giving them the real, the virtual frameworks, but they said it's not as same as we are attacking a real one. So we basically provided some guidance there. So if I go back to here, every area is very important. So it's not like the pen testing is the most biggest subject. It's a kind of people have created this thing around it. But say for an example, threat intelligence, and you say education, then security operations, and career development. Like us, what we are doing is we are developing students, engaging them and teaching them, training, that sort of thing. And then security architecture, developing around. So if you're a really good maths student, mathematician, then cryptography is where that you can look at developing different algorithms. You don't have to write program or hack. You can do that. And then other areas is like if you're looking at you like writing procedures, standards, writing policies, that area. And then another area is setting physical security, right? And the risk compliance and risk management, those areas, and the governance. So you can generally look at, there's a lot of areas that you can be specialized in. So when you start at a lower level of entry level, so basically we are looking at general programming skills and basic computer skills. So this is from there you enter and you find your way up towards higher roles. So for an example, I can take you an example. In my days, there were no cybersecurity degrees. So I joined the company as firstly, it was the first year I did was I was a trainee tutor, and then I was a trainee programmer. And then whilst I'm working, they found that there are specialist areas that I am very good at. and then I diverted, and then I specialized. When I chose my degree subjects, I chose what I like, and then when I did my MSc, again I specialized on the subjects I did. At the time I was handling the organization website, so I specialized on that sort of information. And then when I did the PhD, again I went into the network security side. So there are qualifications. Ones are like formal qualifications. Degree qualifications are really good if you're especially working on. You don't need a degree, but degree qualifications are good to start develop you as a professional, and also for some organization that's the entry qualification. And then certifications are very good also for your specializations. So you can find online, there are courses and certifications for these specialized areas. Should I go on, or do you want to ask a question?
Well, yeah, let's sort of focus that question. So you've just explained there just sort of the range of roles, and there's reactive roles, and there's proactive ones, and perhaps someone who's just interested or got a real aptitude for IT in general, that they are software designers, they could well find themselves into cybersecurity. I'd be interested for any of you watching this at the moment, kind of tell us what are the roles in cybersecurity that most interest you. I mean, I guess the one that comes to mind that's the sort of the Hollywood one is an ethical hacker, Steph. So these are the people that are going in and either testing companies' systems at the moment, or going in and trying to prevent crime. But what sorts of roles would your colleagues in the police service be carrying out?
We can't hear you, Steph.
Oh yeah, we can't hear you, Steph.
Sorry. Yeah. So so from policing perspective, there are digital media investigators. So those are the people that will be going in with warrants. So they go in with police officers. Some of them are police officers, some of them are police staff, and they'll be going in with the warrant. So they'll go in at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they will get any evidence that there is, or any computers or devices that need to be taken and need to be examined, and they'll either do it themselves, or they'll get a digital forensics to actually go through the devices and find what needs to be found, which either can be done actually at the scene and can take days, many hours if not days, and they can literally sleep at the scene, or they can take them away with them depending on what it is, and that can be done both at an address, and it can also be done at businesses as well, to try and look at the log files and understand why a business was attacked, what the vulnerability was, how they could protect it, all that kind of stuff. So that can be done through policing. So yeah, we have, like I said, within policing there are the local forces, so you can work for the local force cybercrime teams if that's your interest. You can also work at a regional level, and we also have our sort of regional organised crime, so kind of a step up in the risk side, and also the kind of groups that are committing it. And then you also have a national crime agency. You also have security services like GCHQ that need technical expertise. And also National Cybersecurity Centre that work with GCHQ too. So there are so many different roles within policing itself, but also within ethical hacking, there are a lot of different types of ethical hacking. So was already mentioned about either the technical side and actually looking vulnerabilities in the computer system, but also social engineering, just as simple as going into a building and seeing how far you can get before you're stopped. So trying to get into a building without a pass, trying to get into a building without having authorization to be there, and getting through security doors and getting past security people, all that type of stuff is also ethical hacking. It's just as part of the physical side. So it all comes together, and that's why actually I have a big thing about soft skills versus hard skills within cyber. So hard skills are the technical skills, so the skills that a lot of your audience will probably have, but some of them may also have soft skills. So from my point of view, I'm not a technical person. I would definitely not say I have a lot of hard skills. I'm much more of a soft skill person. So I'm much more of a people person. I'm good at presentations, and I'm a good problem solver and out of the box thinking, which is probably one of the biggest things I hear when I speak to academia and industry. What they're looking for within this industry is out of the box thinking, being able to, if there's a problem, you know, how can you get past it? How can you get through it, rather than thinking that's the barrier and I can't go any further? It is really, really important. And I think that's where, you know, that's how I've ended up where I am, you know, because as I said, I've ended up in cyber and I'm not technical. So just to give you a bit of an idea of what my background was that led me to here. So I did university degree criminology with sociology, so more the social sciences. And my interest was why people become victims, why people become perpetrators, and also how they can then vice versa as well. So the kind of reasoning behind that. So I went from that into a housing internship at a local council, where I was working with kind of the vulnerable of society. Moved from that into general crime prevention. So I was working with those who were either victims of crime, general crime, or potentially repeat victims of crime, and trying to help prevent that and give advice on how they can prevent it. I then went into counter-terrorism prevent, so working with vulnerable people who potentially had extreme or radical views, both right-wing extremism and other types as well. And then I ended up in cyber choices, so cyber prevent, where we're working with these young people with these skills. So it's always been about prevention for me within policing, and yeah, so that's how I ended up where I am. Like I said, not a technical person, and yet I'm working with cyber and technical people. So there are so many different roles. Last time I heard there was 80+ different roles within cybersecurity, and only a small proportion of those will be really, really technical. There will be just like
Sure.
so yeah, just like we were saying, there will be things like management and leadership skills and accounting and back end, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's so many different roles. Another really useful thing I'd recommend to people to look at is the SANS cyber skills map. So SANS is one of the biggest sort of cybersecurity training companies, and they provide a cyber skills map that you can have a look at, and it details all the different pathways that Deepthi showed on that slide. So yeah, definitely have a look at that as well, and that will give you some really useful information.
Okay, I'll try and find that and share that within the webinar. Deepthi, so Steph's just spoken about I guess some of the more obvious roles within cybersecurity, within policing and within crime prevention. But presumably, thinking about the students that you're working with at University of Hertfordshire at the moment, what sort of cybersecurity roles might that, or organisations might they go and work for besides the police?
Most of the students goes as, I mean, if I talk about security, I have students who have gone as security analyst and forensics side, those who are good in forensics. And then as security analysts, because they are basically analyzing the threats and the security of the systems, their clients. They are working under senior people. So as Steph said, sometimes this doesn't really need technical stuff because they train when you go there. And also the technical, what I'm saying is technical in the sense, the tools, you know, the software, the operating systems, they changed all the time. So you have to be the strategical person. So, and then the risk assessment. I have one student who had gone for risk as a risk analyst and in a very higher up in one of the banks. And then some students come to teach and to go into research areas. So those are the entry areas, and some they set up their own businesses and they do their own work and develop little tools. One of the student, basically his master's undergraduate degree project, he developed into a small company. So there are massive opportunities because cybersecurity is everywhere. So say for an example, even if you are a software engineer and that has to be developed in a secured way. So security comes in anywhere, manufacturing, software engineering, robotics, you name it, everywhere is cybersecurity has a role to play.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, that makes sense in the same way that every physical building and company will have security guards stopping people coming in, going places they shouldn't be. Cyber works exactly the same way, doesn't it? So, yeah. No,
because now, especially after the pandemic, everything has gone online. So online means we need more cyber experts to work on that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, sure. So do get your questions coming in. I can see that there's some coming through already, so keep them coming in. I suspect this next section of questions will be the ones that a lot of you will be really interested in. Just looking at the registrations, I can see those of you watching this one are probably from all year groups, from year 7 up to year 13. So some of you might be thinking about university already, or what you do after 18. But first of all, Steph, you spoke about those differences in those sort of technical hard skills and those softer skills. If we just look at technical skills at the moment and think of it more through the prism of someone at secondary school, are there any obvious subject choices that someone might take at school or college that you think will give them a really good grounding and understanding of cyber?
So any STEM subject, so science, technology, engineering and maths, I think most of the young people that I come across who are very technical or on the road to being quite technical and wanting to get into cyber are generally doing something under that umbrella. So they normally do things like computer science, maths, physics, that kind of thing. All of that will be a really good basis to be getting into cyber, either if you wanted to go on to a degree or if you go straight into working. All of that would be really useful because it's all related, you know, coding and having an understanding of maths and having an understanding of, again, engineering and all that kind of stuff. It's all linked. And as Dipti said, it's one of those things within cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is the umbrella for all of STEM. You know, even though technically we might fit under the technology, and when I do my inputs, it's always under the technology or under the T of STEM, really cybersecurity encompasses all of the STEM subjects. So anything like that, I think you're in a really good place to then go forward with however you want to take your career forward.
Sure, and I'll ask you this question again, Steph, before I ask Dipti to talk about higher education. Do young people need to go to university? Do you need to have a degree to get one of these jobs in cybersecurity, either within policing or within the rest of sort of industry and other companies?
So I don't think you have to go to university. University is always going to be an option, but obviously some people don't get on with the side of university and they might prefer to go straight into work. Again, everyone's completely different. And I think the cybersecurity industry in particular is very understanding of that. So there are a lot of opportunities. So for example, apprenticeships. A lot of companies are offering apprenticeships, internships, and also degree apprenticeships so they can learn while working as well. So for example, a government scheme that's running called Cyber First offers degree apprenticeships and bursaries. So the degree apprenticeship would actually be learning while working for GCHQ. So there's a certain amount of those that are available each year. And there's also the bursaries as well. So the bursary will pay up to a certain amount each year towards their tuition fees if they go on to a career related to cyber. So again, something to look at if that is their particular interest. And obviously a lot of those that are on the call today, that will be of interest. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities if you go to university or not. But I won't say either or, it's completely up to that person. But just know there are so many opportunities. The most important thing, and I'm sure we'll come on to this later, is getting your name out there in a positive way and get experience and know what the real world working is going to be like. You know, I've spoken to so many people who either go to university or come out of school and they expect to get their dream job as soon as they graduate or as soon as they finish school. And the world isn't like that. You know, it's probably slightly easier in cybersecurity to get onto that pathway. But it's about improving your skill set and getting involved and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure we'll cover that later, so I won't go into it now, but it's definitely, the point is there are opportunities out there. It's just, you just got to look for them and know what's available to you.
Sure, okay. So, I mean, Dipti, I know when I asked you this earlier, you were quite emphatic that you don't need to go to university. So you're very much you're aligned to what Steph said then. But just talk to us about the type of courses that are available or at University of Hertfordshire. Let's start from there. But of course, I'm sure all our viewers will know that there are plenty of other university options for them. But specifically University of Hertfordshire, what are the different courses and what will someone learn?
Okay, if I focus on the University of Hertfordshire cybersecurity courses, we have different, we call it awards. So when you graduate, you get say software engineering, AI, or data sciences. So for cybersecurity, we have cybersecurity and networking course. It is accredited course from British Computer Society. So we have kind of several specialized modules that we teach. For getting to this degree, perhaps you might want to know, we need grade 4 Cs in and English language and mathematics, and UCAS point 120 to 128. So the degree award will be BSc Honors, Computer Science, Cybersecurity and Networks. There is one pathway with the industry experience, placement for 1 year as well. So there are specialized modules that we teach after the general skills are taught in the first year, and then in the second year you start to specialize. You're starting to move into your specialized areas, and then at the end in the third year, so you start learning about computer system security, the networking, so your specific areas of work.
Sure, okay. So why might someone really want to specialize in cybersecurity, or you know, what would you recommend? Should people look at a very general IT course, or do you think it's important that they already think to start specializing at 18?
It is okay. As Steph said, I agree that you don't need a university degree. You don't need a cybersecurity degree. I didn't have a cybersecurity degree. I always say to my students, it's about what you're learning, because your certificate is just an entry point to start learning. So that to show that the students have basic qualification. There are some learning outcomes, but everything else depends on how good you are applying your skills to this job, the application given. So this is where the specialization comes. So just because somebody had a software engineering degree or cybersecurity degree, it doesn't define that person as a cybersecurity specialist or not. It is how you apply yourself into the job. So it is good if they can specialize. So then they are one step ahead. They have the degree, because I can tell you some students, when they come to the second year during the Christmas break, they start to learn do some basic certification courses. So by the time they finish their degree, they have the degree certificate. On top of it, they have some professional certificate. Doesn't cost much, sometimes about 300, 400 pounds just for the exam, because they're already self-studying. They're studying in the university. It's all about developing the soft skills and being inquisitive, right, and being hungry for knowledge. Because if you just follow the courses, and okay, courses nowadays are included all these industry information, what's happening, but still there's so much we can cover within the course. So if you don't know what's going on, you know what's happening in the industry, when you're writing your CV, it'll show. When you are going for an interview, it'll be obvious you don't know what's going on except what you've been taught in the class. And the good areas to look at is even very basic places like BBC, cyber threats. What are the cyber threats? Because they keep on updating. And the places like BCS and NCSC site. People like to, and they are updating all the time the news about what's happening, and join in your school or university computer science club. And I would also say write a blog, little short updates about you or your work, rather than perhaps spending so much time in other social media, posting private pictures and all that. Because when some jobs, you're not allowed to have a social media life, because it's better you, especially when you're in cybersecurity, better not to expose yourself sometimes, because it's giving your information away, and when you're taking a role. So and the other things are, whilst you're working, you experiment with virtual machines and test beds and a few things like that you can work. So main thing is maintain your integrity, because for protect somebody's assets, you have to be a trusted person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, makes sense. Steph, Deepti just spoke about some of the experiences someone could gain whilst they were, at school. Are there any other examples you can give of, good things that you could do just to sort of help your understanding?
Yeah, so I think work experience, get as much as you can. It's, any contacts that you might have, even if it's tenuous, make the most of them. Get involved in hackathons. University of Hertfordshire, I know they've run them previously. I don't know if they still do, but we've been there a number of years. Just kind of get known for those skills in a positive way. I completely agree with Deepti that, things like creating a blog, getting on LinkedIn, getting involved in that community. Within this industry, yes, you can create a CV and you can say on the CV that I've had this experience, I've that experience, I've got this degree, I've done this apprenticeship, which is great. But actually, what have you learned from those experiences? What have you created? What have you been part of? And actually linking that to an active blog where you can say, I've studied and I'm fluent in C++, Python, JavaScript, etc., and this is what I've created with that. These are the projects I've been involved in. So things like getting involved in OWASP. So again, online projects. There are so many different opportunities on those as well. So definitely have a look at that. Like I said, just get out there, get involved in the community, get on LinkedIn and just start speaking to people from the industry that you're interested in, and speak to the people. If you've got an ideal job that you would love to do, an ideal career path, speak to the people doing that career path and say, how did you get to where you are? What would you suggest? That's part of what I do. I work with industry and academia and I ask them what they're looking for. And actually, it used to be 3 pillars. It's now 4 pillars. So the 3 pillars were TCP/IP networking, so how computers talk to each other, Python as a really good basis of coding languages, and understanding of operating systems, and multiple operating systems, not just Windows, but Linux as well, and the different distributions of Linux. But they've also added a 4th pillar on, which is an understanding of cloud computing as well. So I would always say, if you think that your knowledge on any of those 4 pillars is lower than another, then really work on those aspects, so you are rounded. Even if you are going to end up a specialist in a certain area and you are that go-to person for that area, you're going to have to most likely start out in a more generalized role. So it's having an understanding of all 4 of those pillars would be really useful as well. And like I said, getting that experience in as early as possible. There's no reason why you can't do work experience at the start of secondary school and then keep doing it as you go through, and getting involved in open source projects as early as possible. And if anyone's going to have that curiosity and they want to practice, they want to get better at their skills, just remember, I will say this because I am from the police, I've got to say it, just remember that anything that isn't yours, you need to get permission before you start practicing on it and getting unauthorized access and all that kind of stuff. But there's so many different resources out there that have been created by the ethical hacking community and by the cybersecurity community for the next generation. There are so many different things that you can apply to, you can have a go at. And I've got a whole list of them. So I'm happy if anyone wants to contact me on LinkedIn or email me afterwards, I can send you a list depending on your particular interest. Or if there's particular questions in the chat saying, oh, I really want to be a software developer, then there'll be certain resources that I can probably recommend compared to if you wanted to be an ethical hacker and vice versa. So again, while we're here, use us. And that's what I would say. Anyone you know that works in the industry, use them. Try and get as much information out of them as possible.
Yeah, sure. And thanks for that, Steph. I think what we'll do is, as I said, this video will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel, and perhaps within the comments on there, if you're happy, Steph, we'll put your email in there, and then if anyone wants to follow up with you, then they can. The next couple of questions, I think we've probably covered already. So really what we try and do here is just reassure people watching this one that by the time they've left school, potentially gone through university, there's still going to be demand for people in cybersecurity. You're both nodding your head at the moment, so I probably don't need to go any further than that at the moment to say that, yes, if this is a career you want to go into, there will be a job for you if you've got the right skill set for it.
I think the one thing I'd say about that really quickly is, so as of August 2022, it was estimated there was a 2.7 million skills shortage. So there was 2.7 million jobs to be filled within the cybersecurity industry. So that just goes to show the need for it. And that's August 2022. That was what, 3 months ago. So yeah, it's going to be a growing industry. It's not going to be an industry where you're going to be afraid of redundancy, let's say. So yeah, it's definitely a good one to get into.
Yeah. And Dipti, is that reflected in the number of applicants you get for your courses?
Yes, yes, of course. We get, say, thousands, I would say. Our computer science department, we have nearly 5,000 students learning computer science, and major part of that is cybersecurity. And as Steph said, you said about 2020, and I would say our students here, they'll be graduating like perhaps 2025. I can tell you the good news, it will be 3.5 million openings by 2025 if you graduate at the time. So it's a very high demand. And the question was, what are the demands now? If you're looking for a job in here, I would suggest you could look at the government's cybersecurity strategy, because when the government set their focus in something, and all the organizations that work with them also focus on their objectives. So look at those things, align your skills with the cybersecurity strategy. For an example, I can tell you the Cyber Essentials that they have launched, and what they are basically looking at, every company, to a small and medium size companies, to make sure that they have firewalls, they have routers, they have a secure configurations and access controls, malware protections, then patch management. That means when you install some software and you have to update it frequently. If you have like a old machine that is not updated, that is a security problem. So those type of basic things, and also be aware of what is a phishing attack, how you can prevent the malware, ransomware, password guessing attacks, how you can prevent it, network attacks, how you can prevent it. These are things that you can generally self-educate yourself by looking at the news, some self-learning tools, and also, as we both said, safely experimenting within safe areas like virtual machines, right? Yeah. And as Steph, I would also like to offer, if you need any help, I'm in the university, we have a lot of resources as well. Please approach. We are very happy to help, and also we have open days and other support sessions for school students, so we will very welcome you. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. No, that's a very nice offer, Dipti, as well. So I'd say even those of you that aren't imminently thinking about university, or even if you're thinking of not going to university, do use the university open days. Come in and just have a chat with people. They're not just going to talk to you about the courses you can do, they'll talk to you about the pathways and the routes and further advice within that. Right, we've had lots of really good questions come in, and I've got just over 10 minutes to ask them to you and get some answers from you. So let me, Steph, ask you this one. What counts as cybercrime?
I could go into lots of detail about this, but basically the underpinning thing that the law around cybercrime is the Computer Misuse Act 1990. So you can look into that. You can imagine it's very, very long legislation, but the most important thing I always say to anyone I speak to is unauthorized access. So basically, an ethical hacker has written permission to hack into companies' websites or systems or an app or whatever it is that they've been hired to test. They have written permission, and if they don't have written permission, if they're doing it without permission, then that's when it would be cybercrime. So you're gaining access to someone else's computer without permission, or you're affecting someone else's device or server or website from working correctly, slowing it down, crashing it, or potentially you might be creating a malicious virus or remote access tool or a DDoS tool for use it with the intent to use it maliciously. The only difference would be, and where it wouldn't be cybercrime, is if you either have permission or, like Dipti said, you're actually doing it for learning within a virtual environment that won't affect anyone else's computer, and you have control over that. That is the difference. It's all about intent, and it's all about unauthorized.
Sure. Okay. Now there can be lots of technical language here which I don't understand, so I'm hoping this will resonate with you guys. But Deepti, what does the term architect mean in cyber job roles, i.e., cloud architect? What skills and subjects are needed for these roles?
Okay, architect is basically is like the building architects. So you are basically looking at the infrastructure side of it, right? So looking at how things work and the network area, different frameworks. Say for an example, different cloud frameworks. What is the difference? Which one you will build? Like same as building a house, you need to know which structure will be better for different usage for the users. Did I answer that question?
As far as I'm concerned, you did, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
But yeah, I guess the clue is in the word architect, isn't it? So I think what would an architect do in the more physical, tangible sense? And the same probably applies.
Basically, in the cloud also, you are basically building the architecture of the cloud, because then the security people goes and secure it.
Sure.
In the building, right? Same in the cloud.
You've made that make sense to me, so I'm sure that'll be the same for our audience as well. Steph, do you have to be good at coding?
Okay, yeah, not really, because there are, as I said, to be a cryptographer, you can just create algorithms and somebody will code it for you. But when you start in your first degree, you have to learn coding, because those are basic skills of a computer science student. But when you specialize later in your careers, perhaps you don't have to code. You might write few scripts. So as a cybersecurity, say if you're going into pen testing, of course you have to write your coding, because you need scripts to automatically attack. So those are specialists, but you don't need to do coding like a software engineering person as professional. Sure. The cybersecurity coding is different. Having said that, first year, second year, you are expected to learn these basics, because that is where we are giving you overall knowledge about different areas. Then once you specialize, you will be learning deeper into security and network, where you don't need that kind of programming.
Okay. Another question here. Hi, I was wondering if either of the key speakers could tell me more about data forensics in cybersecurity. That sounds like a policey question. So Steph, I'm going to go to you for that one.
I can try. So my understanding of data forensics, well, forensics itself. So like I said about those log files, so you can do forensics within police and you can also do it in the private industry. So it's kind of understanding at a kind of kernel level all the way through and analysing what you found to be able to follow that through. So for example, reverse engineering viruses. Reverse engineer is a job in itself, but there's also like I said, digital forensics, where there may have been an attack at a business, and you may be working in the private industry to understand and find out where they first got access and follow that trail to get to that point. And that can be like a pinpoint data point, or it can be much more obvious. But you can also do that as part of the policing world as well. So that's my understanding of forensics, but I'm sure Deepti can go into more detail about the sort of the data side if needed for that particular question.
Yes, that is, forensics also can go into different areas. So basically, yes, you're right. It's about, say, for an example, if it is about only data, then you are analyzing the particular set of data, how it's changed, and so basically you're focusing on the data itself.
Okay, all right, hopefully that answers that question. If you do want to follow up with that one though, do drop something else in the question tab. We've got a couple of minutes that we can cover that in. Another question here, is there any advantage in taking GCSEs and or A-level computer science if you want a career in computer science? Or Deepti, first of all, I mean, you look at lots of students' applications for coming onto HE courses. So would computer science jump out to you as being a really big advantage?
I wouldn't say that, but if anybody can, you don't really have to have a qualification as such. But sometimes when if you're selecting the programs, it might help if you have it, depending on the program. If it, for an example, if you don't have enough of some subjects, I'm not specifically talking about our university. I have looked into different universities for somebody else recently, so I looked at so combination of subjects will help to get into, because sometimes you run out of subjects if you're like a borderline into the then they say, okay, the computer science and maths will help, or computer science and something will help, that sort of thing. But there's no restriction that if you don't have computer science that you can't do a degree, but it will help because you already, if you're doing computer science in school and then you come to the university, you learn basics of basics in programming, and when you come to the university it might help you a little bit more because you're already ahead of other people. You already know how to code a little bit in Python or some other language. Yes.
Sure. Okay. Steph, you're just taking yourself off mute, which
yeah, I just wanted to just add to that. Like, I know from my experience of working with schools, not just in Hertfordshire but across my region, is obviously not every school offers the opportunity for computer science. So if you are one of those people that wants to do computer science but can't, maybe they offer ICT, which is obviously going to be different, and you'd be learning different things. Then that's where it comes into, learning separately to that, but finding those reputable kind of approved resources that are created by that community for the next generation. So things like, get involved in those communities on OWASP and LinkedIn, and they will then tell you about these different resources. Obviously, like I said, I can divert you to them as well. So just because if you don't have that opportunity but you wanted that opportunity, like Deepti said, there's so many different pathways that you could still take that could still lead you into doing that at university if you wanted to.
Sure. And also I want to say, I share that BBC has all these O-level, A-level subjects taught in very simpler way. Actually, I referred it to somebody not in our country, but then only I found out that BBC also has their subjects taught in, so you can parallelly self-study if you like. And the other option is, there are so many materials open source nowadays. You can follow coding. There are specialist coding programs where you can you have practicals as well. You code and you submit, and they find the errors. So you basically go step by step if you want to do coding there.
Okay, so this is a question that came in the registration beforehand, but I'm sure it's one that both of you have fielded before with students. How much do you get paid in cybersecurity? Steph, I'm guessing you get asked that question a lot, don't you?
So it depends on the type of role you go for, and also depends where you are in the UK. Again, it also depends where you look to get the average wage. But my understanding is the average wage you can expect when you first start out in cybersecurity, especially if you are a graduate, is around 45. Again, depending where you are in the UK. Once you're established in cybersecurity, you can expect anywhere sort of around 76. So that does change. So every few years it goes up or down, normally up. And again, it does depend where you are in the UK as well. But yeah, that's generally the kind of pay you can expect depending on the role you get.
Sure. And Deepti, I'm sure your students probably ask you that question as well,
that's what my understanding is. Actually, the starting salaries can be 25 or actually 30, 35 have gone some students who they are really good. They were basically headhunted from the university. And then, I've seen from LinkedIn, I think it can go up to about 80,000 in the middle levels. And depending on how qualified you are, sometimes you will be wanted everywhere, and you can earn as much as you like.
So it's a well-paid salary, put it that way. It's certainly more than you get for presenting a weekly careers webinar.
So once you are really qualified, your experience, then you can be a consultant, and every word you say will get paid.
And it's of course it's a very rewarding job as well. So look, let me just close off by giving you all some details of some websites that we've discussed and that you might want to have a look at. So the ones that we put on there is the SANS website. So Steph, you just want to explain what that is again?
Yeah,
so
SANS
the link that you sent through to me, so that's.
Yeah, so SANS is one of the biggest cybersecurity training companies, and they have the cyber skills roadmap on there that gives you loads of information about different pathways within cybersecurity. But they also have loads of different training courses on there as well. So just to give you an idea of what's out there and what they offer as well, it could be useful too.
Sure, and then I've also put in, so you've got the QR code for that on your screen at the moment. We've also put in the QR code for the National Cyber Security Centre, and that's where you can find out about the Cyber First courses that Steph spoke about as well. So that QR code should take you directly through to there as well. And Deepti, I know that you'll be very keen that people have a look at the British Computing Society's website as well. And of course, you are a member of the Hertfordshire branch.
Yes, actually, I'm a member of the Hertfordshire branch, and also a member of the Information Security Specialist Group of BCS. So we in the university we have a computer club, which is also a chapter of BCS. So you all can always look for our events, the university events, as well as the BCS events. Generally, I think you can attend any online. Now BCS has a kind of a program. We have an early careers program. Every specialist group has an early careers officer where we run events for early careers. So that is where we provide support, and we bring speakers, the young early careers, and ask them to give them a talk about their experience, what they're doing in the office, that sort of thing. They were well attended actually in my group. We had continuously. We had one continuously running every month. Just a year before this year we couldn't schedule something because we had other programs running, but I think we will start running it from next year. That's what I heard. Well, previous year I actually ran the whole program. Yes.
Sure. Okay, so that's a good website to have a look at. And so they do have a, you know, I think your colleague last week told me that you've got about 1,500 members, which includes current university students and school students, as well as some professional members and companies as well. So there's probably a really good forum to be part of if you want to discuss not just cybersecurity,
yeah, the BCS, sorry, yes, BCS Hertfordshire chairman is also, chair is also one of our colleagues. So I'm proud to say that. Thank
sure,
you.
no, that's good. That's good news. You can see that Hertfordshire is right at the centre of this. So just in closing, a couple of people have asked if they can have an email for the Steph. So I've just put that in the chat, which should be visible to you all. We'll also make sure that that's available within the YouTube comments when that goes live on our website tomorrow. So if you look at the screen at the moment, the QR code, I know I've sent you lots of QR codes already, but the QR code in the top left corner will take you through to our HOP website, where you can see not just this webinar from tomorrow morning, but all I think we've done 61 of these in the last couple of years. So there are literally webinars about pretty much every career that you can think of that will be relevant in Hertfordshire is available to watch on there. So you can watch those all back on there. So do share that with your family and friends as well. You can see our HOP social media channels as well. There is a TikTok one as well, which I'm sure you'll be able to find. We do run a different webinar every week. So next week, very, very different topic. We're talking about careers in hair, beauty and media makeup next week. We've got one about careers in a state agency coming up. We did careers as a chef last week. So there is something there for everyone. So do familiarize yourself with that. So in closing, first of all, if I could just thank those of you in the audience, particularly those of you watching this live, who have contributed, and you've added your own questions there, which have added some really insightful thoughts that our panel have been able to answer. But more so, let me just thank our fantastic panelists who have given up their time for us today to talk about their experiences and share their knowledge with you. So Stefan, to Dipti, thanks so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And I know that everyone would have found this really inspiring and really informative. If you do have any feedback for us, drop it into the chat now. We always like to record that. Steph, any closing comments from you just about why cybersecurity might be a really good career path for someone?
I think there's just something for everyone. Like I said, there's so many different pathways. And I think the two things to take away is, well, three things to take away is to get as involved as you can, as early as you can with the industry. And remember, when you're applying for roles, you know, you only really need to have like 60 to 70% of the requirements to actually apply. Never kind of be put off just because you don't think you've got all of them. And if you did want to go to university, my top tip would be to look at all of the different universities that offer a related degree, and then look at what they actually offer within their syllabus, and see if that is what you want to study, because everyone's going to be slightly different. I did the exact same thing with my degree, and even though it wasn't technical, I knew what I wanted to study, what my interests were, and that's how I narrowed down my university search. So yeah, so that would be my closing argument.
Sure. Okay. And Dipti, final word from you then. Why cybersecurity?
Yes, it's a very interesting career, and it never stops. It's never is boring. Nothing is same. So I enjoyed 30 years of my career. It's really good. And I would say make sure that you do something special to stand yourself out. You know, if you're in a class of 500 students, and what makes you more special, make sure that you do that. Because then you'll be standing out even in your CVs, and when you're working in a company, you'll be noticed. That's all I want to say.
I think that's probably a great lesson for life as well, and a really good point to close on as well. So best of luck for all of you with your future careers, whether that's in cybersecurity or anything else. Thank you for watching this evening, and have a really pleasant evening.
Thank you very much.